This conference will now be recorded.
So welcome everyone to the ANCAN Blood Cancer Support Group. It's a lovely, actually it's a very nice hot day today in Boston. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm happy to have you all here, especially this is like a major vacation week. So this is dedication. Thanks for being here. So we do not have any newcomers yet. How's that for being hopeful? So does anyone have anything this evening? Does anyone need any time? Lou, okay, since you had the first raise, once we go around, Jim. Lynn, do you need any time? I'm going around
Not
my
really.
screen here. Okay.
Not really.
Al? Okay. Herb?
Yeah, I'll give you an update on my brother.
Herb number one. Are you number one, Herb, or number two, Herb? That's what I
I
want to
think
know.
is there only one or there's still
Yeah,
two
there
there?
is. No, I'm teasing you. I just want to make sure we have the real Herb.
Right.
Sally,
No,
do you need some time?
well, I can give you an update on my ex-husband who just got diagnosed.
Yes. I think that's a good idea. And Mary, do you or your pet need any time this evening to speak?
I've been having a lot go on and I can share that.
And apparently your bird needs some time too. Okay. All right. So let's start. Since Lou was the first one with her hand up, Lou, please share with us this evening.
Yeah, I had just this afternoon had a meeting with my myeloma specialist at University of Kansas, and they got approved for a teclistamab study, and I am to be patient number one.
Wow.
Wow. So
Yeah, I'm
tell us
excited.
about this study.
Yeah, it has had really, really good results. I've been looking at some of the early clinical trial data and had registered through the Health Tree Hub with my myeloma numbers and everything, and they link up with Spark Cures. And
Yep.
Spark Cures, does a lot of filtering of clinical trials throughout the nation, even some, trials in Europe. But um, they had sent me information that teclistamab, was possibly going to be approved in some new arms. The initial clinical trials are closed, but um, I think there's 3 arms, 1B, 1C, 1D, and they all are doing different things, I think. So it just opened up for, I don't know if all of those arms, but one of them at least. And my oncologist, Dr. Abdallah, my myeloma specialist at KU, is he's the principal coordinator of the study. And he said, and what they do for any of the clinical trials at KU, they bring patients forward, who may be a good match for particular clinical trials. And they do that on Wednesdays. The team of doctors and specialists and everything that are for the clinical trials come together, and then they decide, after listening to all the patients that have been brought forward for this particular clinical trial, then they look at everybody's profiles, their labs, everything, and health status, because they want people that are not too sick. It's like you can't be too sick, but you do have to be sick enough, to qualify for these clinical trials. And so he came in, of course, he had his mask on, as we did, and you could tell he was smiling, because his eyes were, crinkled up. And he said, I have good news. And because I had messaged him about teclistamab for a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and bugging him to let me know if it was going to be a possibility for KU. So perhaps it was persistence. that
Can you
helped
spell
me
the
off.
Can you spell the name of that for me, please?
T-E,
I'll put it in
TPP?
the chat window.
T as
Okay.
in Turkey, T-E-C-L-I-S-T-A-M-A-B, teclistamab.
And that's also, is that the name of the drug?
Yeah.
Then?
It's, what is infused, when you're checked into the hospital. I'm supposed to maybe sign, if everything goes okay, sign the paperwork for the clinical trials. They always have several pages that you have to go through. And it is possibly July 14th that I'll sign. And then they wait for the drug to be shipped from Janssen. It's a Janssen product.
Lou, is it an imid or is it, what is it?
It's a
protein?
bite. It's a
It's a
bite.
bite, okay.
A bite. And
Right.
I'm sorry, what phase is this? I don't know if you already said that and I missed it.
I think it's not the initial clinical trials. I think it's 1B, where they'll do a certain, amount of dosage. While you're in the hospital, they'll monitor and see how you do. So I think it's on dosage. 1B, I think, is where they manipulate or try the dosage that worked well in the clinical trials, earlier clinical trials. So I think that's the phase.
Okay.
But
And how
but
long
if
does it go?
anybody's interested, it'll be on the KU website. I mean, it was just approved, I guess, this week. So it may take a little bit to get it on. They always list all of their clinical trials for myeloma on their website. So, I think it's going to be, it's probably already is on the clinicaltrials.gov.
I think I just put in the clinicaltrials.gov number in the chat window.
Thank you. Now, is this a multi-center trial?
Yes.
It is. Great.
Yes.
And what is the duration of the trial?
Good question. We were so excited.
I know this is very exciting. These are things
Well,
when you
I
go
go
through that, you hear the news, you're so excited. We walked out with lots of questions, but he said all of the questions, he may not know every single, I mean, he's coordinating it, but it just happened. So he does, I don't know if he has everything from Janssen, yet to share with patients, but on the 14th of July, I'll get the information. So like I said, I should have asked a lot more questions, but I was kind of off, just a little bit off and surprised. I didn't know that I was going to be hearing that news today. So.
Wow, this is fantastic. We need to celebrate this.
I know. We did. We went out to supper, early supper.
Oh, Lou, are you assured of receiving this, or is a possibility you'll be receiving another drug on a different arm of the trial?
I think this is the next arm that was approved for KU. I don't know that all three arms, or even if that is the one that's, I just remember reading about that. Dr. Abdullah did not say the three arms. I was reading about it from somebody else's information. Maybe it was Smart Cures or Patient Power or someplace where I was reading information about. I was looking up studies on teclistamab, so that I could have lots of questions to ask Dr. Abdallah. And like I said, I've messaged him like 2-3 times about it. Just, I don't know, I bug people. I bug my doctor sometimes if I see something that is exciting. And this definitely caught my attention because the initial clinical trial data that was out there, I think at ASH that was presented, gave in the 80 percentile success rate. And that's really good for myeloma, therapy. So.
Well, I think Herb had looked it up. He probably knows the start and finish date and
Good.
all kinds of
I
stuff.
haven't had a chance to look yet.
Well, it says here the start date is 2020, although they really didn't start till after, and it's supposed to be finished in 2024.
There's a couple more years.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is
So
terrific. Now, go ahead, Lynn.
yeah, would this be taken in combination with another drug, or is it?
That's a good question. Right now, I am taking dexamethasone every Wednesday, but nothing else because I was in between clinical trials. I finished 3 months ago iberdomide, which was, I think, Celgene's CC220 was the clinical trial for iberdomide, which was just a kind of a next generation Pomalyst, Revlimid Pomalyst, and then they're trying to get iberdomide approved. So I was in a clinical trial for it, and I just came off of that 3 months ago. So all I've been taking is Dex every Wednesday. So I asked him if I should continue the Dex after we found out this news, and he said yes. I did not ask him specifically if I would continue on it with the teclistamab, but everything I've read so far about it, I don't necessarily think that I'll be on Dex with it, just from
Basic,
what I've read.
Lou,
Well-
on a BITE protocol, sort of like a CAR T, that is a single drug. It's
Right.
a bispecific antibody.
Right.
And you will probably not, you may be on Dex just to help it along, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did a CAR T, so yeah, I'm familiar with the protocols.
Sometimes the bites can provoke an immune response. And so I think they may keep dexamethasone
Yeah.
if you have any issues.
Yeah.
For the inflammation and anything else.
Right.
Yeah, there's neurological, just like CAR T, there's neurological concerns that they watch for. But I didn't have any issues with my CAR T. Everything was fine. So my disease burden isn't as high as some people's. And that might be one of the reasons they chose me to be patient one, is to kind of make sure that everything goes well with the first one.
So
I know
Lou,
what you're going to write on for the library.
Yes, and I would love to help with that. I'm a retired reading teacher.
I know, Roz told me.
So, good fit.
Yes. I think you'd be great doing explaining clinical trials and how to find one.
I can try.
Oh, we'll all help you.
So Lou, I didn't realize you had been relapsing then.
Yeah.
So have your
Yeah. I was first diagnosed in 2013 at the end of the school year. And so ended up in the hospital with double pneumonia. And that's when they found the protein spike in my blood and told me to get it retested in 2 weeks after I got out of the hospital, where they said I almost died. And but I recovered quickly. I was on steroids and antibiotics for 5 days and got to be dismissed from the hospital on the 5th day. So I did get to go back my very last week of school because I begged the doctor. I said, can I go just for the last week? And it was, after that, I went immediately into a stem cell transplant preparation. So anyway, that was kind of the beginning of my story. So I've been on many drugs after that. After my stem cell transplant, which lasted almost 3 years, I went on to Revlimid for a short time, couldn't tolerate that very well. And then Kyprolis and Dara and Pomalyst, all of those in succession and some in combination. And then I did CAR-T in 2019, and it lasted about 14 months. And then I started, my numbers started to increase. Then Dr. Abdallah wanted me to try another trial, which I did starting in March of last year. And it was the iberdomide, CC220. So, and that worked at first, but I couldn't tolerate for my ANC, my absolute neutrophil count, had to be at least 1,000 for each cycle to start. And I kept falling below that off and on. So the drug doesn't work if you can't take it.
Right.
So they would give me a break, a week here, a week there. And so when you can't take it consistently, it just doesn't, keep your numbers low.
You have a
Anyway,
wonderful,
that's what I wanted to
you have a
share. It's my good news.
oh, thank you. You have a great attitude, Lou. And thank you so much for everyone for being so open to clinical trials. Can I see with hands how many others have been on clinical trials? Am I the only one besides Lou? Sally, you been on a clinical trial?
Nope.
No.
Not yet, but it's probably in the future.
I don't
You
want to be
never
on
know.
one. I'm gonna get.
Yeah, you have to be in good enough health to be on one of those, don't you?
I guess it all depends on how the trial is written.
Right. You can't really be too sick or too sick or too healthy. It's like they have their number requirements, for labs.
Mhm.
So it's like you roll the dice. You look up stuff, like I said, I went on Spark Cures and registered to do searches of clinical trials. So they would give me clinical trial information about what's available at all of the major teaching hospitals and, well-known universities. And of course, my diagnosis is myeloma, but I think Spark Cures does it for leukemia too, as well.
I think
And it-
comorbidities would be one of the issues that some of us might have.
I think you
I'm
have to
pretty-
have healthy kidneys.
And
if-
I'm on a blood thinner, so that
I
probably
was,
disqualifies
but
me.
I'm off now. But at one point I was, and that didn't seem to be an issue.
Sally, can you write in Spark, however it's spelled, whatever that name is for everyone to see in the chat? And also tonight, we're encouraging people to write in the chat any useful information for everyone. So thank you, Herb, for also doing that on the bite, the name of the drug, the spelling, and the trial number. That was great. All right. Hi, Ashley. Welcome.
Hi,
So-
everybody.
So, let's see, Herb wanted to share. Herb, please tell us
Okay,
what's up
well,
with your,
I mean, I think many of you know that I have a brother with multiple myeloma who had a autologous stem cell transplant at the beginning of April. And his numbers came back quite nicely. His latest test for MRD was negative,
Yay.
which is a pretty good prognostic factor. And he just had his first COVID shot yesterday. So he's going to have his immune system back together again. And he looks pretty good, although we haven't been together personally because he's still worried about COVID before his immune system takes over. So we've been pretty distant, but it's just been nice to see him come back. And
So do you and your brother look alike?
no, not at all.
Okay. You said he
Um,
looks pretty nice.
Thank you.
this is you said his immune system's coming back and things like that. Be careful of that assumption. I had my stem cell transplant 4 years ago. I still don't have an immune system,
Really?
but I've had four, yeah, I've had, let's see, 3 full vaccines and 4 boosters. And
And
after
they
the,
all,
wait a minute, and after the last booster, my COVID antibodies jumped up to 2,600 for the first time.
huh.
And that was after I had Evishield in February.
Yeah, but he did get Evershield.
And I've been MRD negative for 3 rounds for 3
That's
years.
great.
So I'm just warning you that
Okay.
it's not an assumption that I still have
Okay.
to get IVIG infusions every
Right.
6 weeks. So
Mhm.
multiple
But that's
myeloma
about,
is a very strange disease.
so, I mean, I wish I had more numbers, and he doesn't share with me a lot of the information, and I can't get him to come tonight to these meetings. So,
That's a shame. That really
I
is.
mean,
Yeah, I had someone writing to me for their stepdad. But they don't even, their stepdad doesn't share like what you don't have. Their stepdad doesn't share information as well. So it makes it difficult for the person like yourself who's trying to help, not having that information. It's
right.
very
I mean,
nice of you.
it makes it even more difficult because my wife is very active in multiple myeloma. She's on all the recent papers and recent advances in multiple myeloma. So she knows an enormous amount in terms of clinical stuff that's coming on board. And
Does
he doesn't
she
want
have
to hear
multiple
it.
myeloma?
No, she doesn't have multiple myeloma.
So why is
Is
she involved in multiple myeloma?
because she's the statistician for many
Oh, okay.
for for many clinical trials in
Okay.
the area of multiple myeloma, and her name is on the all these major papers that have come out lately.
I'm sorry. I thought she was just doing it because it was interesting.
No, this is what she gets paid to do.
I
Right.
wish
Well,
I
we're
did.
talking about people that would willing to share. I think when you look at statistically, for example, just talking about CLL, more men have CLL than women, but you will see more women on social media, or on Facebook, or generally in the different Zoom meetings. The men are more reluctant to share. I think, at least that's a general observation.
So, Sally, how often did they do a bone marrow biopsy after your stem cell transplant?
One right after at 100 days, and then one a year later, and then a
Okay.
year later after that.
hmm So he's scheduled for that.
I think it varies clinical trial to treatment centers too. In the clinical trial, they did bone marrow biopsies so often.
Right.
I got one
Right.
in 30 days after, and then I got one I think at 60, and then
And that's
one
a
at,
clinical trial, and that's
yeah,
how they judge a clinical trial
yeah,
is more by bone marrow biopsies than
right,
they do blood work.
yes.
Okay, so let's see. We also have Sally, you wanted to share.
Sure.
Since we're
The good news first is my new specialist here in Indiana at IU Simon Center took me off Revlimid. He
Oh,
said,
really?
you're 3 years MRD negative. I don't believe in, you know, prolonging the side effects. I know you're, Dr. Krishna at City of Hope wants you to be on Revlimid for the rest of your life, but I don't think it's good. So come back and see me in 2 months. If we have a problem, you can always go back. So that's the good news. The bad news is my ex-husband was diagnosed with B-cell lymphoma 2 days ago, and today they told him he also has thyroid cancer.
Uh,
So
Oh,
he goes to his oncologist on Wednesday.
Ooh,
On
So
the B cell, the B cell, you said cancer, they say if it's what it is, a specific name for it, or just B cell?
he hasn't seen the oncologist yet. This was just from the test and what they called him and told him what he had. And they just said it was a B cell lymphoma in his lymph gland in his throat. So my concern is that it's thyroid cancer that has metastasized into his lymph node as an anaplastic thyroid cancer, which is bad. But
So
hopefully it's not.
you've looked all that up then already, I take
Of
it,
course.
knowing you.
Of course.
Sally, have you been off Revlimid long enough to feel any different?
It's only been a week, but
Okay.
so now I've been off for 2 weeks with my normal 7 days. I feel like I'm more energetic. I mean, I'm just, you probably saw me. I was making a salad for thing I have to take to a neighbor. So, I mean, I feel good.
Okay.
My GI problems haven't cleared up completely yet, but I figured with being on Revlimid for 3 or 4 years, my whole intestinal system has to get back to normal and grow all the cells back. So
Well, that's
I'm just
wonderful.
glad I'm not spending $21,000 a month for Revlimid, which I'm not, but
Yeah.
the idea of taking a pill that's that expensive just irks me, even though it does things good. And I don't know if, can somebody tell me what the difference between AML and CLL is?
Well, they're two
Well,
different diseases.
yeah,
Acute
AML is
myeloid,
acute.
yeah,
Okay,
acute
one's
myeloid,
chronic and one's acute. That's
Right.
all I know.
but I mean, but that kind of statement also gets me mad when people say that, right? Because I have heard recently someone say it doesn't matter, like CLL, it's just chronic. That doesn't mean it's not deadly, but acute myeloid leukemia, I know, comes on really fast. It
Oh,
escalates really quickly. And I do know, and I don't know about now, I've done some programs in the past, but not for a couple of years, but generally stem cell transplants are what they do. And there's a great risk of, grave versus host disease.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
there's, but I don't know about today. I think I just saw something that there was a new drug for it. I'm unsure of the age. I personally know someone who got it when they were about, I don't know, 48, and they're, it's sometime later in the doing it. But I also know older people that I've interviewed that have done well with it and still are. So I'm not sure. Does anyone else know any more about it?
I just didn't know if one transformed to the other, or is it the same cells that are cancerous? Or I've looked up a lot of it, and I can't. Nobody can tell. Nothing shows me the difference.
Yeah, I don't see anything in reading about CLL over the last 8 years or so about it transforming to AML. With CLL, the transformation is what they call Richter's transformation, which is more difficult to treat. Not totally untreatable, but it's more difficult. Oh,
Okay, thank you.
Ashley probably knows. Yeah.
Um, I'm kind of having a brain fart today, so I can't answer that question. I apologize.
It looks like it's very hot where you are. I saw you with a fan
Yeah, I
earlier
was having a hot flash.
before your time. I have those a lot myself. Well, from
Yeah,
CLL
well, I'm
12.
postmenopausal, so one of those.
Yeah, I hear they can last for years, decades. I don't know. Let's hope not.
Hopefully
So
not.
on AML, Sally, why do you ask about AML? Is it just
Because
something you're learning?
HealthStream is now, along with multiple myeloma, they're now doing the same thing with coaches and libraries and the university with AML. So I'm just trying to learn about it more. Not that I'll ever be a coach for AML, but I just wanted to know what it was.
So speaking of hot flashes and night sweats, Rick just put in the chat to everyone about the Ember Wave. Has anyone here
Right.
tried it?
I have
haven't.
one.
What is
And
Ember
does it-
Wave?
So
It looks like,
go ahead, Michelle.
well, it looks like a watch, but it's not. So you wear it on your wrist, at least the one I have, and it cools you down or warms you up, but you have, and I don't know if maybe I didn't program it correctly, but I've had to activate it for that to happen. Now I'm unsure if maybe I didn't do the app correctly and tell it what temperature I wanted it to activate at. Herb, do you know if
Well, I
you
don't
can
think
set it?
I mean, I think it activates when it senses. I haven't seen the program tell me when to activate. So, I mean, I've got I use it at night, overnight. I haven't needed it during the day. But what it is, it's a cooler it's a little, or heater, called a Peltier effect that cools your wrist. And it's been known in sports medicine that if you overheat and you cool your wrist, you cool down. So this is sort of an extrapolation of that. And I found it very effective.
See,
So how does it cool? How does it do that?
It's called a Peltier
Magic.
effect. A Peltier effect means it's an electronic device. When you pass electric current through it in one way, it'll cool, and if you pass electric current through it in another way, it will warm. So they're used in many different places where you need to heat or cool locally.
so
And it comes with
mine,
an app on your phone and you can, for different kinds of situations, acute, where Michelle, you might have to push the button, and it's on sale, Ashley, and also you get a discount from Ancan.
oh, that's in the chat. That's pretty cool. So mine is the Wave 2. I'm unsure which one you're using,
I have
Herb.
the
Do you know?
Wave one.
Okay.
I have the
So yeah,
earlier one because I was part of the clinical trial. I was part of a trial. That was my clinical trial, was the Ember Wave.
hey, Ashley, you may want to check that out. So I was using it, and I have to try it now that now that my CLL is not escalating, but one of my symptoms, not all patients with CLL are night sweats, except mine were all day long. But I also was having hot flashes, but at night, of course, it was the worst. And I would activate that watch over and over and over again, and it just wasn't enough to cool all of me off. So I could be unfairly saying that because it was when my CLL was at a very highly escalated state as I was relapsing. So I need to try it again. Now that I've heard you, Herb, say that, I really will try it again now that you've shared that it works. So, and Ashley, I can let you know, 50% off is awesome.
Then does it also tell time?
No, it's not a watch.
So we're
That's the
going
thing.
to have all these things on our wrists.
Well,
Exactly.
right.
Our smart watches, our Ember Wave, our
And
And I was
cuffs.
thinking, whoa, let's hope not. I hope none of you go to jail with those.
I think that's
So,
funny.
well, Jim, you wanted to share something this evening. Please.
Yes, it's a little bit convoluted. Anyway, I am a prostate cancer type now for just about 5 years. Okay, and I'm taking a drug holiday. Okay, that's good. Okay, I have a sister who was diagnosed with the MM about 2 years ago. And so she's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and so we finally talked her into a sort of a family reunion down in Jupiter, Florida. So, okay, now the deal was also I just got through with the 60th high school reunion. If you've ever attended those, they are a hoot because there are some of the girls haven't changed at all. 60 years, it's amazing. Okay, the guys totally changed.
And they can't
So,
see.
huh?
Yeah, the guys, the girls haven't changed, but the guys have, and the guys can't see.
Right, true. So anyway,
Here either.
finished that up. Okay, and I took the train back up to Virginia Auto Train on got here last Tuesday. So on Wednesday, I was checking, okay, the blood pressure, and it was spiking up and down like some kind of a yo-yo. I mean, it was up to like around 200 over 108 or so. So I said, holy smokes. So anyway, I hit the critical care place. Okay, everything was fine. Okay, EKG was fine. Sent me home. Well, on Thursday, the COVID hit. And I mean, it hit me like a brick.
Oh.
So thank heavens I had the 4 shots, et cetera, and it was just about like a bad cold. Okay, the runny nose, sore throat, et cetera. So it's been, let's see, I finally happened to clear it up by about Sunday. So it was an interesting experience. So that was a trip over to Florida. Okay, my sisters down there did not catch it. Thank heavens. So that is my story. Although I go 60 years, where did it go? It went quick.
How many days were you sick with COVID?
Generally on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I would say.
Huh.
And did you have it badly, Jim? I mean, how did it affect you?
It depends on a thing you call bad. Okay, it was strictly in the nose. Okay, the sinuses. Okay, in the throat. The thing did not get down into the chest at all. Thank heavens. So I survived.
Did you get any medical assistance during that 4 days?
No. Absolutely
Well, did
not.
you lose your sense of taste?
I wasn't hungry that much, but I don't know if I lost the sense of taste. I really wasn't eating that much then. So that's it.
Do you think you got it at the reunion or on the train? Or you don't know?
Reunion. Okay, the train aspect of it, well, and with the train aspect is extremely isolated. Okay, in a separate room, you come on to the train, get the room, and where the meals are served. Okay, in the room, and so no, anyway, I think it was probably on the last day during the luncheon. So I think I got it there.
Interesting.
glad.
So have you been testing yourself regularly?
Well, anyway, I tested it on a Friday because at first on a Thursday, I thought it was a cold, okay, because it happened to come on so quick. But then on Friday, I got out the test, okay, and I looked at the Schwab thing, stick it up your nose, and Schwab things. Well, at that point, and when the nose was completely dry, so I said, okay, how do I get this thing to get the sample on it? So about an hour later, all of a sudden, the mucus happened to, spew out of there. Okay, and it was easy. So, and bingo, it was like absolute, no doubt at all.
Interestingly enough, my sister and I drove across country, took 5 days from California to Indianapolis, the early part of June. 2 days later, when we got home, and we slept in the same hotel rooms, we were in the car all day together, came home. 2 days later, she had COVID. She went to the emergency room. She had all the tests, and yes, she had a severe case of COVID. 3 days later, her husband got it, and I never got it.
Wow.
It's that
I think it's
Evishield.
the Evishield and 3 vaccinations and 4 boosters.
And you get IVIG monthly.
And I
right,
get
for home.
IVIG, right.
So Jim,
Ju-
did you test positive? That's what I know Herb was asking. Did you?
Yes, I did. Okay, I did it on a Friday last Friday after I probably had it since Saturday on, except it just appeared at first on a Thursday, kind of appeared. But then, okay, on a Friday, it really appeared.
Well, I'm glad.
Jim,
Good.
I was going to say, Jim Ashley said it for us that we're all glad you're okay. So,
Oh, yes, I am too, because I was thinking, oh no, I don't need this one on top of everything else. No,
when my wife had it, she had severe headache and cough.
okay, the cough I had only because, and when the sinuses were draining, okay, into the back of the throat, and that caused all kinds of coughing up the stuff. Surprisingly, and with the wife, nothing at all.
Well, anyone else here have COVID in the last month or two? Mary, have you avoided COVID or have you had it? Oh, hold on. Oh no, I'm trying to unmute you. Oh,
Do it. Oh, no, I haven't had it. But I know of husbands and wives where one had it and the other one took care of them for a couple of weeks and they never got it. And the one person, her husband had polio as a child, and their doctors, I don't know if he had any facts, but he suggested that people who had polio might not be as susceptible. And another person told me your blood type O blood. I guess this is all gossip, but type O blood doesn't get it as bad as other people. But it is interesting that husbands and wives can be together for 10 days and the one won't get it, even though they're taking care of the other.
and have you been being extra cautious and isolating and wearing masks? Is that why You think you haven't gotten it?
I don't know
Great.
why. All my kids, my grandkids, everybody's had it. But I just sneak around, try to stay safe.
Yourself. Ashley, have you had it?
No, I haven't had it.
And what about you? Are you being stealth and sneaking around like Mary? Or are you
Um,
out there?
if I'm in public, I'm wearing a mask, but I am like going to the grocery store, and I actually went to Memphis to visit a friend, and I took a plane for the first time after COVID, and thankfully everything went okay.
Was that when people were still wearing masks on flights or not?
No, this was a few weeks ago. I wore two masks because I was very nervous,
So,
but yeah.
in my own sense is that airplane flights are not that dangerous, or we would hear about it. If they were super spreader events, we would know in the newspapers.
Right.
I mean, I just came back from Scotland, so on a plane, and very few people were wearing a mask.
That petrifies me. The idea that no, but I realize no one is if they don't have to. Ashley, is that what you saw too?
Yeah, hardly anybody was wearing a mask on the plane. Maybe a few people.
Oh. Mary, well, Ashley, since we're on you, do you have anything you would like to share this evening?
Yeah, my uncle has myeloma, and he was on maintenance chemo, but now it seems that his case is getting worse. So they're changing up his treatment. I don't know any of the details of what drugs he's going to be taking, but he's going to take two types of chemo with infusion, one chemo pill, and they want to put him on steroid. I think one of the drugs is a clinical trial. I don't know which one. I'm going to find out. I tried to get him to come here, but he's not a meeting person, so he didn't want to come or whatever. So
Give
maybe
me
I
his
can
email. I'll
find out.
contact him.
Maybe, yeah, that'll be great, Sally. Thank you.
Um, I'd be glad to talk to him. And I'm going to make a pissy comment, and I'm warning you now. The drugs for multiple myeloma are not chemo. They are targeted therapy. They are protease inhibitors, but they're not the standard chemo that kills all cells.
Yeah, I'm getting this information like secondhand because I got it through my dad, and then, you know,
Chemo's scary.
whatever the case. Yeah, so we'll see what happens, and I'll talk to my uncle directly and see
Ashley,
what
where is he?
is
Do
what.
you know where he's being treated?
He is in Charlotte, North Carolina,
Hmm.
at he's not in Novant, he's in the other one. I don't remember what the other one is called.
When was he
Emory?
diagnosed?
Huh?
When was he diagnosed?
He was diagnosed. It was after, I don't remember if it was before or after I was. I think it was after. So within 4 years.
So he hasn't had a stem cell transplant?
No. He was on maintenance for a while. They said if the clinical trial doesn't work, he will need a stem cell transplant.
That's the standard of care right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the
So
one thing
Well,
you could
if
ask
you
them.
have any questions or your family has questions, reach out. I
absolutely,
can,
thank
I
you. I
can have other
appreciate
caregivers.
it.
I can actually have caregivers talk to, his wife or whoever's taking care of him and help them as well.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll definitely let him know.
I think it's also would be important, Ashley, to make sure he knows that that his doctor is a specialist in multiple myeloma.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that would be, again, some places any hematologist tries to treat it, and they often don't know what the latest is.
Right.
But if he's in a clinical trial, I would think they'd be a
Well,
specialist.
but yes, but we don't, it's
We
not,
don't know.
we don't know. I mean, but I I went through this with my brother where he started out at local hospital in DC, and I could find, and finally he even realized that he had to move.
Yeah.
And I think
Ashley,
some people I was going to say, I think some people successfully keep their local oncologist, but have their care directed by a specialist. Um,
That's
if you're
that's
if you're
exactly what
local,
I did. Yeah,
yeah.
because my specialist was 2.5 hours away. I want to know what Al's been up to. The silent one.
Well, no, now that I've been taking everything in, yeah, I'll share a couple of things pertaining to what we've been talking about. So my son, he's got a son that's like 13 and another one that's like 6. So they all have gotten COVID twice already, but it's been very light. He is vaccinated. I think the boys are now too. And again, it was just like a cold for a couple of days. Now, my son-in-law, who's a firefighter here about 30 miles from me, they share a remedy with vitamin D and a bunch of other stuff. I will forward that to Michelle, and Michelle, if you want, you could email that to everyone else. But it seems to work because everybody who he knows that he has shared it with, they have all gotten it very lightly. And one of the secrets to not getting the pneumonia and getting water in your lungs is avoid laying down. You got to stay up. So my son was, even while he had COVID, he still walked 3 miles a day for his exercise. But yeah, I wanted to share that. The other
Sally had
thing
a
was,
stroke.
no. What Lynn was talking about guys on social media and how there's more women who talk about it. I got on this Facebook group for what I have, the polycythemia vera, and you get on there to educate yourself and learn more about it and what other people are dealing with. And yes, there are a lot of guys on there. They do share a lot of information. There are a lot of women on there. I think it's probably equal, 50-50, men and women. And going back to that, it's like I was saying, you want to get on there to see what other people are dealing with, their treatments, this and that. And again, it's the negative and the positive. I mean, I get on there one day and it's like, I don't want to read this. And then another day you get on there and read something and you learn something from it. So it's, it's kind of hard. Do I really want to know everything? It's scary.
But
and
knowledge is power, and once you have power, you can advocate for yourself.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. But it's getting that though. It's getting in there to get that.
Now,
yeah, that
if we weren't looking through social media and other avenues to learn more about our disease, we would think that the treatment we're on is that's the only one there is because that's what our doctor has told us. So
Yeah.
it
And what I'm
certainly is.
finding too is a lot of the interferon, the Bezeremi and Pegasus, they're both injections, but there are a lot of people outside the U.S. that are on it. So it seems like other countries are more lenient on handing that out than what we are here.
Would Herb, would you like to comment on that? Since
I know I don't have any information.
we do have, I mean, we have a strict regulatory process to help ensure that we're protected, but I do know that, I know even for CLL drugs, things are approved in other nations much more quickly than here.
Excuse me, Lou raised her hand there.
Yeah, I was just wanting to say something about what Al said about social media and finding out information and stuff. I think, you know, as a former retired reading teacher, I've always been big on research and finding out information. And I've always been, as Sally said, knowledge is power. I wanted to be prepared when I went into the doctor's office with questions and understanding some of the treatment options that he would probably be talking about. I wanted to be knowledgeable enough that I would understand what he was there to say. The other thing is I wanted to see myself as a partner in part of this team that was treating me. And you can't be a partner if you don't know anything, if you haven't looked up anything, or you know, I understand that there are a lot of people that can't handle some of the information. And that's why I went on sources that I wanted to find out information from that were reliable. You know, I went to the International Myeloma Foundation. I went into Mayo Clinic, MD Anderson, you know, the major, you know, Dana-Farber, the major treatment centers for myeloma, as I'm sure you know, the ones for CLL. So those I trusted. You know, just doing a Google search, I don't think is real helpful unless you have a specific drug name and you want to go to the drug maker website, which I did for some of the treatments I was on at different times, like Kyprolis. I wanted to learn how it affects your heart because I had heard from the doctor, you know, and I was referred to a cardiologist because when you take a drug like Kyprolis, you know, it can affect your heart for some people. So I wanted to be knowledgeable. So I didn't do just Google searches or look at Facebook things, although I have learned to become trusting of a couple of the sites on Facebook that Dana Holmes moderates. She just is incredible knowledge, and she does one for myeloma patients, and she has one for CAR T, and just closed out one for COVID recently. But she has doctors, specialists, doctors on her list of people who participate and researchers. So I think you become discerning, you know, about who you take your information from. And it has just been an eye-opener to learn over the years about this disease that we have and learn more and be able to be knowledgeable and have good questions when you go into your doctor and become a team member. That's all I wanted to add.
Sally,
Thank
that was stated so well. Really, I wish I was interviewing you right now for a program because that was a great summary of what people need to look for, and that it needs to be a credible source and not conjecture, not something that is not scientifically based. And I remember when I was first diagnosed back in 2012, there really wasn't a whole lot on the internet about, for what I have, CLL. And it was a lot of old information, very dated. And it took me a little while to find anything. And I have to say that Patient Power, I don't know if you ever watched that, but that was the first credible site that explained things in patient-friendly language, but with a top specialist from around the world. So, and then I learned enough there to start to go, like what you were saying, to different other sites. But that's fantastic, the way you summed it up and very eloquently stated.
I
Are you
agree
going-
with Lou as well. I only go to about 3 different myeloma sites, probably the same one Lou's does. And I also participate. Lou knows that I am constantly answering questions when people have questions about things, because there's a lot of things that on those sites, peer to peer, that people have found solutions to either side effects or other problems that the doctors don't know about or don't think about or don't consider. And so there is a lot of help on those sites, as long as you can determine that it is moderated correctly and, it is,
Credible.
legitimate. Don't go to Dr. Google. Dr. Google says you'll die of multiple myeloma in 5 years. Period.
Right. Can I give a compliment to Sally? I am a myeloma coach on Health Tree, and she is too. And I have gotten to know Sally from different Zoom and GoToMeetings and things like that. And I just recently had a coach reach out to me who wanted to have a peer mentor. And I had to speak up, and I said, you know what? I said, I am happy to visit with you and talk with you. And I said, if you're looking for a person who is so knowledgeable about pretty much all aspects of multiple myeloma, you need to look up Sally Torgensen. So it very well might be, you might have one of those coaches reach out to you, quickly. I told her that I said, I'm really good. I've had coach training through teacher. I used to be a reading specialist, but I also did coaching for teachers. And, coaching is coaching, whether it's to, teachers or myeloma patients. But when you learn how to talk with people and how to, listen, be a good listener, and ask what it is that they want to get out of the, sessions you have. So there are things that are very common between the two, coaching aspects. And so I feel like I'm trained in that department. Person to person stuff I'm usually pretty good at. But, knowledge, being very, very knowledgeable. I've been on this road for 9 years now, but being very knowledgeable and understanding so much of the intricacies of the treatments and the therapies that are available and things. I said, Sally's the one you want to talk to. She's the queen.
Thank you, dear. Mary left, but Mary was one of my first coachees. And unfortunately, I had, when she told me that she thought she had MGUS or smoldering, and I sort of shook my head and go, who told you that? And she said, oh, my doctor. And I said, well, let's look at this another way. I don't think so. Let's find a specialist. And that's what she did. So she's doing very well, aren't you, Mary? You're muted.
So Sally, is your new doctor where you live now, is that a multiple myeloma specialist?
Yes, he was one of the original researchers on multiple myeloma and the use of IMiDs or things like, targeted therapies at the University of Indiana Medical School.
Sally, you made the comment a while ago about the targeted therapy not being chemotherapy. And I agree with you because I receive my monthly supply or 28-day supply of ibrutinib. But in the package that comes from MD Anderson, they stick it inside a plastic bag and it says caution, chemotherapy on the outside of the bag.
It's very
That's
confusing.
That's a generic bag that you send it And sometimes the people will get real argumentative on social media about whether these different things are chemotherapy or not.
Yeah, but the word chemo is so scary to a lot of people. And, you think of little Pac-Man coming and getting rather than some piece of dynamite.
I was going to say that another source of information that I stumbled upon. I was diagnosed in 2013, and I was scared to death of what I was hearing and reading, and previous knowledge. Cancer. I'm going to be gone in 2 or 3 months. But I found Terry Evans' blog about CLL, and it was exciting because this guy had been diagnosed 13 years ago. And then after that, I found Dr. Brian Kaufman's blog, and he'd been diagnosed about 2008. So some of that early confidence I began to get was from reading what those two people wrote, and it added impact with Dr. Kaufman because of his credentials. So you see things that it's like my car is making this funny noise, and people have all kinds of different ideas, shade tree type ideas, but until an expert, somebody that has experience in it, looks at it, and that's why we say you really need a specialist to guide your treatment.
Yeah,
But
I'd like to just comment on a couple of these observations around using other sources and using social media and what have you. So I guess I was diagnosed in 2007, and I quickly found a chat forum, so you could post and people could respond to you, and most of you know what that is. That's very similar to what Sally is active on, and you write and then other people write back. And my first comment is exactly what Sally said. You have to be really, really aware of the level of moderation. Some of these forums are over moderated, some of them are under moderated, some of them have moderators who have personal grudges and so take comments out from particular people. And I'm not exaggerating about this because it's happened to us. And some people who respond have an axe to grind and will keep pounding on the same issue time and time again. Frequently, for example, a great example is the use of proton radiotherapy versus photon radiotherapy. And there are the people who are what we call proton proselytizers. And there really isn't any evidence that proton is better than photon or photon is better than proton. But these people have something that they want to say, and this is a forum for them to say it. Now, I was active for years on this Inspire forum, and ultimately, I was the first person to get recognized by us too with a national award for the support that I was providing virtually. And I sort of parlayed some of this along the way into developing what we have now, which is this virtual platform, which we were doing 6 years before anybody else, 5 years before anybody else. So you really have to be very knowledgeable about the forum you're using. I love the point that Lynn just made about providing confidence to people through showing them other peers who have had successful treatment. We do that all the time. And especially in our big groups like the prostate cancer group, where somebody new comes on, and I'll know who's been working with a similar situation for many years, and I'll get them to speak up. It makes a huge, huge amount of difference. I mean, we just in our caregiver forum, I think most of you know, and you are all, or your care partners are all welcome. But we have a care partner forum for people living with stage 3 and stage 4 cancers. In blood cancer, it's a little different. So really, any blood cancer care partner can join us with the greatest of pleasure. We meet twice a month. And we had somebody, we had a woman come in very, very nervous. And when she heard about the fact that somebody similar had been treated for 5 or 6 years with a comparable mutation, and this, it made her day, because her husband's just gotten diagnosed, and she thinks the end of the world is around the corner. Now, we know in most cases the end of the world is not around the corner because we've seen it. But when you get first diagnosed with a life-threatening disease, whether it be cancer or anything else, you think that the world has collapsed around you. And that's why we have these peer groups. So, you know, we love to provide that sort of support, number one. And number two, just be really careful about where you're getting, who's giving you your advice. Check, make sure you know that it's somebody of the quality of a Sally or a Lou that's giving you your advice, because otherwise you can get a lot of bum information. I mean, it's like using Dr. Google, and which we are very nervous about. You know, people come to us with the weirdest things, and they pick this stuff up and they don't verify it. So those are just a couple of my own thoughts on social media.
Well, we're glad that you have the forum that we can all join, and, you know, all different people and all different cancers.
Because a lot of us do have similar things we go through along the way.
Yeah. Well, look, this social media thing is a great example, because you all have your different sources of social media for your different diseases. And, you know, I've been doing a little bit of gentle coaching with Al, because Al's now finding himself in a social media forum where people are starting to listen to him. And he's seeing that there's good information in there, but there's also a lot of bad information in there. And thank goodness now Al knows enough that he can discern what's good and what's bad, and he can step in and help people, and he's been doing that. And I love that. I mean, I love it.
Thanks to this group.
Well, you know, but now you're passing it along, Al, and that's what we want to do. We want to make you not just your own best advocate, but a very good advocate for other people, to direct them to the right place. And no, not everybody's going to come into this group, and people are going to sign up. I mean, we probably get 10 people or more a month signing up for this group. Do they show up? Not really. Maybe they listen to the recording, and maybe when they get enough courage, they'll show up, because it takes courage to sit in a group like this and to be and to bare your soul and to talk. And, you know, some of you, I mean, for some of us, it never took courage. You know, people like Sally and myself, maybe Michelle, we could walk right in, and we could be comfortable in a group like this. But there's a lot of other people who cannot, and they've got to pluck up the courage to cross the threshold the first time.
That's very true. I'm curious, Ashley, do you have a group that's solely for your disease area, or is it more of an AYA group that you attend in addition? I know you have a few groups.
Most of the groups I go to are just AYA focused. Some are general, like Gilda's Club are the ones that are general, but I don't really go to any other blood cancer groups. I do go to the LLS. It's not a group like this. It's a chat room.
I know you're trying to change that.
Yeah, I need to find out from the woman So I'll shoot her another email.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is.
Great minds
Oh.
think alike, Ashley. I just asked you that privately. Yeah. But listen, Ashley, don't be discouraged because they say things and then they never come back to us. And then we just have to keep pushing. Look, we thought we were almost at the point where we could start a bladder cancer group and really, really wanted to do it because we know people that desperately need bladder cancer group. And
Yeah.
Beacon, which is the main and really the only bladder cancer group, we met with them. Yes, yes, yes. They have just completely shut us off for the
Oh,
last
man.
2 months. I've written to them. People with the bladder cancer have written to them and said, "Where the heck are you?" We've heard nothing. So that's how it goes. But you keep plugging away.
Yeah,
keep
I
plugging
think
away.
it took her like a month to get back to me from the, so we'll see. From the first email. So we'll
Don't
see.
be discouraged. We'll get there.
I'm
We
not.
will.
I'm not.
And the other thing, and just forgive me for just sharing this with Ashley right now, I think we decided yesterday, and Alexa's going to look at it, but I think we've decided to make our AYA group open to men and women. So we're going to start a general AYA group. Because the guys just aren't responding. Yeah, I knew you'd be happy. So we'll talk to you about that. We'll be in
Okay.
touch with you later this week.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, Alexa finished up in the hospital last week, and they kept her in. They did let her go, but she had an infection, and they put her on antibiotics, and so it slowed her down quite a bit. But she's doing okay. But you can reach out to her and ask her. But yeah, I was a little concerned. So, but she's doing okay right now. So, or doing better. She's not doing okay. She's doing much better.
Is she out of the hospital now?
Yeah, they only kept her in from morning until late at night, and they let her
Oh.
go at night. They gave her IV antibiotics and other stuff, and and they think they found the source of the infection. At first, they thought she had either appendix or gallbladder issues, but then they found it was something else. So it's always fun
Al,
here.
so Lynn, what do you got to show us?
Show and tell.
What does that say?
Well, it's backwards, isn't it?
Gavalite
No, it's not
G.
backward. Gavalite G.
Uh-oh. Are you doing a colon? Are you doing a colonoscopy?
I'll be back in just a minute. No,
Oh,
I,
Herb is the expert.
I
He
did
just
it last week.
I've got
That's
an
the,
Not with that,
appointment.
with a very different method though.
that's the
I've got an
biggest bottle I've ever seen.
Yeah.
drink 8 ounces every 15 minutes.
No,
I
I
haven't
had
drank.
no.
a very
Have you
different situation.
have you drank all of that today?
Well, no, this is for future. My wife had her scope about a month or so ago, and she asked for a different concoction where you take pills instead of drinking all this stuff. Well, she took the pills and was drinking, and she said it was worse than this.
Hmm.
So they accidentally gave this to her first, and they wouldn't take it back, and they gave her the other with the pills. So I said, well, let's save this because I know I'm going to need it, and I have an appointment on the 18th to discuss this with my doctor. It's been 10 years. So what do y'all think? You think he'll be happy with just a stool sample, or you think he'll want me to drink it and take a look?
I mean, if you
Uh,
haven't had any colonoscopy for 10 years.
That's right. I've
And
never
how
had any,
old?
and I'll be 75 in September.
I think you should get it. Just do it.
One more time.
Just do it.
Well, certainly with blood cancers, we're more susceptible to other cancers.
Right. I mean, there's no argument against it other than you're going to have a day of discomfort.
Yeah. I listened to a couple of doctors the other day on YouTube, and they had a gastroenterologist, and he said statistically 1 out of 17 develops colon cancer. That's greater than 5%. So probably worth doing it.
I think, aren't you supposed to have it every 5 years after 60 or something? Is it now
Yes.
50? Yeah,
Eh.
I have it more often. My dad had colon cancer, and 2 of his half brothers had colon cancer. One died
yeah.
from it. So my family is very pro get your colonoscopy. Better safe than sorry.
Mm.
Well,
Two
and that's what this
questions.
doctor. Go ahead, Rick.
One for Herb. Herb, how did you, you said you used a different system. What system did you use?
I had to drink, I forget the name. I don't know the name of the product, but it was like I had to drink 16 ounces, 12 ounces of this stuff and then 12 ounces of water within an hour. And then that was the night before. And then 5 hours before I had to do it again twice.
Okay.
And it
Was
worked.
it easier than the Gavrilite?
Yes, it was more easy, other than the timing, the fact that the second dose had to come in the middle of the night because I wanted my colonoscopy first thing in the morning. But otherwise it was fine. I would say it's much easier than Gavrilite. Those are the old days.
The other question I had was for Lou. Lou, have you had any germline inherited mutation testing in yourself or not?
No, not specifically for colon cancer, but I've had, most of my colonoscopies, I've had 1 to 2, sometimes 3 polyps removed, but they always tested negative. But the doctor said, it takes almost 10 years for a polyp to develop into cancer, but you never know what stage it's at, in between. So having, I was doing it every 3 years because of my family history. But like I said, I haven't done the genetic testing. I just do what I know I need to do, to keep an eye on it.
The genetic testing is a mouth swab. That's all it is. And, you can send it off to Invitae. You can do the color test yourself. With the amount of cancer that you have in your family, your insurance is almost certainly going to cover it. And, you might want to check, because if you do carry something, it's important for you, your siblings, your offspring, anybody else. And I don't know with blood cancers about the crossover, but Lynch syndrome does lead to much more frequent occurrence of colon cancer. And interestingly enough, endometrial cancer as well. I had a friend in Romania from when I used to live there, and she got, she had, what did she have first? She had colon cancer first. And then a couple of years later, she came back and she said, oh, they think she had endometrial. And I said, has anybody ever tested you? And it turned out that, yes, she carried a Lynch syndrome mutation. And so it was important for her daughter to know that. So.
Yeah, I preach to my daughter too. She's, not at that 50 threshold. She's younger, but she knows, the history and that we need to have colonoscopies regularly. So yeah, I am always on her.
Well, go check out color or talk to your talk to your PCP about doing a mouth swab and we just did a webinar on it. I'll put the link in the window. We did a webinar on genetic and genomic profiling, and Lynch syndrome is significant. One of our moderators carries Lynch. He used to be our board president, and it's so easy to do the test, and it's important to know.
Yeah,
Herb, you want to say anything on that? Or Jim Marshall wants to say something. Go ahead, Jim.
Yes, anyway, I had it done. Anyway, I have a gene error and ATM error. So good thing to know. Excellent thing to know, especially in the long haul.
Just about to put the link. Here's the link for our webinar that we held last week. We had a speaker from Foundation Medicine. We had a breast cancer oncologist who carries a mutation who hosted. We had another speaker from Hopkins. So it's worth watching. It was a very good presentation.
Absolutely. I agree, although I missed it originally, although I happened to look at the sort of a replay of it, and it was great.
Okay, well, yeah, there you've got it, guys, in the chat window. So I think Herb was in another country. Herb, were you?
Yes.
You were sailing, weren't you, when we did it?
When was it? Last week?
Wednesday. Last Wednesday.
Yes, I was sailing.
Right. And eating haggis.
And
and porridge.
And drinking scotch.
And drinking scotch. There you go. Oh,
right.
boy.
Lynn, haggis is
tastier than what Lynn was holding up.
Mm-hmm.
And what you were speaking of, Herb, scotch sounds much tastier to drink
right
than these other options.
Yeah.
Eating haggis. What's haggis, by the way?
Haggis is it's lamb intestine, isn't it? Stuffed derma, but with lamb.
It's stuffed. I think it's stuffed intestines, and they stuff it with a mixture of meat and offal and oats and God knows what.
Right.
And it's an ancient Scottish delicacy. It's a bit like black pudding, if you know what black pudding is. And Ashley's got the right idea.
Oh, come on.
Actually, I wouldn't have tried it either, my darling. I just want to tell you.
It just came on my breakfast plate.
Did it really? Did it?
Well, I mean, yeah, the person who was making breakfast that morning made haggis.
Oh, just like scrapple?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes along with that other ancient Scottish delicacy, deep fried Mars bars, deep fried Milky Ways.
Those I didn't have.
Oh, you didn't have a deep fried Milky Way?
No.
Milky Ways, by the way, in England, Milky Ways are Mars bars. Milky Ways are the same thing as Mars bars. Right. And Milky Ways in England are the same as, I forget what they call them, but Three Musketeers, I think it is. But yeah, you have to get your Mars candy straight, between England and between the US and the UK. Mary, didn't you say you had something you wanted to talk about early on?
I was going to tell you about my disease. Back in April, I had a May, I had a CT scan, and it showed I had lesions in my back. And that shocked my local doctor because my numbers from my blood work looked good consistently. So I was pleased that he called my specialist and discussed this with him. And so it ended up that I went for a PET scan and a bone marrow biopsy. And then I did radiation treatments. And so now I'm going to go on a different medication regime or whatever protocol. And I have to wait 2 weeks after the radiation, and then I can start that. So that's where I'm at. And in the middle of all that, I started having blood in my urine. So I've got the urologist after me to do these other tests. So I don't know which way's up.
Oh, no.
Lou go. I was going to, Lou, have anything, any words of wisdom? Mary, you have multiple myeloma, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I'm going to go on Darzalex and Kyprolis, and they're both infusion. I haven't done infusion treatments before. So
Well, good luck. Good luck with Darzalex. I think most of us that have been on it were pleased. Very
Good.
few side effects. So
good.
Darzalex, it seems to be really preferred by my doctor over some of the others like Kyprolis and other infusion drugs. So good luck with Darzalex. I think he's very, very positive and up on it.
Well, that's what my specialist recommended to my local. So that'll start on the 18th. So
Okay, good luck. Your first few infusions, they usually will make them do the long version. Are you going to try the sub-Q?
what is sub-Q?
That's where you get the shot in the stomach and it's like, less than 30 minutes. If you do the infusion with Darzalex, it usually takes 2.5 hours.
Well, my specialist said I should do the infusion.
Yeah, and that's usually recommended to begin with.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. Have you told your specialist that you have blood in your urine?
I did mention it to him. Well, it's a weird thing. Excuse me for being detailed, but the blood is always on the tissue from the urine. But when I go for the urinalysis, no blood.
Okay.
So that happened back in March. Then it happened again in between some of these other appointments. So today I went for a renal ultrasound.
Right.
And then I'm going to do something else in September.
Well, the reason I ask is because a lot of times if your kidneys are in any way, shape or form compromised, they don't want to give you an infusion because you process that through. And so I just want to make sure that the doc's on top of that and he knows, but it sounds like he is.
He is. Yeah.
And the other thing is that if there's anything that comes out of that, then maybe we can navigate you a little bit because we have a little bit of, well, not a lot, but we have a little bit of experience. God forbid you have anything you have to deal with. And let me just tell you one thing, me personally, is that I had a kidney cyst that they followed for years. I can't even remember blood in the urine. I had blood in the urine, and they did a ultrasound, and they found a kidney cyst. And a friend of mine, actually here in Tucson, and at the time had moved, but he was a very good friend, and he said, if I had a dime for every time I've seen a kidney cyst, I could retire. And as it turned out, my kidney cyst was benign, and it grew for about 3 years, and then it started to shrink. But if it wasn't for the kidney cyst, I wouldn't be here today, because I had a PCP who didn't believe in PSA testing, and so he didn't test me. And my urologist said, "You got to get a PSA test." And I said, "Yeah, I know, but my doc doesn't want to do it." He did it, and that's how they found my stage 3 prostate cancer, because of the kidney cyst. So, I'm always grateful to that kidney cyst, because otherwise it would have been too late, and the prostate cancer would have gone to stage 4, and who knows what would have happened, because it was an aggressive cancer.
Yeah.
So don't be concerned if they find something, talk to us.
Well, this morning when I had the ultrasound, the gal said she didn't see anything, and I saw the report. They posted it on the hospital portal. It said nothing abnormal, just a lot of small cysts. So there you go.
Okay.
I'm feeling good about it.
Okay. So did anybody in this group? Oh, Al did. I was going to say, did anybody in this group attend our last art class? And Al did, I know. Ashley, did you attend the last art class? She may not be there. Can you see, Al, do you see what is over Michelle's left shoulder?
Yes.
Can I see your, I so wanted to attend, but I had a patient power program that evening. And I really wanted to because I love sunflowers.
Well, if you talked to Al very nicely, he may show you his artwork, which was fabulous. It was really, really good, his artwork. And if he can bring it up and show you, but I did hear the class was great. I heard a bunch of people that attended it, and we have another one coming up at the end of this month to paint a sky scene with clouds and sky and what have you. And I do recommend that you all attend. So the classes are great, and you can see the classes posted on our website. Here, let me post it for you. Let me put the connection for that on it too. I think I can do that. So yeah, it was. Ashley, did you attend the art class?
I don't think I was able to make it that time.
Okay. I'm just checking here. So hold on a
When
minute
is
and
the
let
next
me.
one?
The next one's the end of this month, July the 20 something.
Okay. I should be able to make that one.
Oh, she's already posted it on the on the blog. But let me see. I'm just looking for the I'm waiting for the website to give me some of these. All right. Bear with me. But you're alive and laying in a ditch someplace? Okay. Oh. Who are we? Oh, that's Susan who just arrived. Hello, Susan. Look at that. A little late, but that's okay. To take a chance on you and give you another shot after everything.
Can you hear us?
Oh, Bunny, please. How many times you gonna play that song? You sit here acting like you want to help me. Susan, we're getting a lot of background noise from your you really think I'm from your TV. You don't even want me here.
Susan, can you hear us or not?
It doesn't look like she can hear us. Okay, there's the there's the art class. There's the last art class. And the sign up for the new art class is coming up. Here it is. Here's a Dreamy Summer Sky, copy link address. This is the one for the art class that's coming up. This is for Ashley. There you go, Ashley. So that's the one coming up.
Oh.
Susan, can you hear us?
Yes, yeah, I can.
Oh, good. We've missed you.
I could probably turn it up.
So,
There you
Susan, what is
I've had
happening with you?
a lot of brain dead. So I lately really whether it's fibro fog or CLL fog, I don't know. My CLL is in remission
That's
as of my last
fantastic.
blood test. And so
Yay.
I'm supposed to be good till the end of August, and then they'll update me. But I'm
This
just
is
dragging. I'm just so tired. I have no
when did you
urgency.
end treatment?
Don't get dressed. Just stay in the nightgown and the house coat. Don't go anywhere.
When did you
Susan,
end treatment?
Are you having treatments, Michelle?
I wanted to ask you, when did you end treatment? Because it takes quite a while for it to get out of your system.
I guess it's about a month now that
Oh,
because
that's
I had
not
my
long.
last blood test and they said I'm in remission.
That's just, are you
So we'll go with that.
undetectable? Well, you're in Canada, so maybe they don't. Are you undetectable minimal residual disease, did they say? UMRD or
They didn't
MRD
tell me
negative?
any of that. So I don't know if they even do that test here. Yeah, I'm the oddball in Canada. It would be nice if I
Susan,
knew
what
somebody else that was, here in Manitoba or even in another province to compare my experience with. But
That
I
would be
always learn
great.
Susan,
something
what was your
when I
treatment?
come to these meetings. So I figure that's good.
Susan, what was your treatment? FCR or something else? Venetoclax?
I can tell that Lynn is talking, but I can't hear him. I must need a.
He was asking what treatment you were on.
Well, I had I guess six treatments with Obin and Obin. I can't even say it. Obinutuzumab. My husband can say it better than I can. I had Obin and Gaziba, I think.
Gaziba?
And now I've got well, actually I'm not taking anymore. I had some other pills that I'm
Weren't you
supposed to be finished.
taking a calibrutinib, Calquence, or not?
I don't think, no, the Obin and,
So just
is that
the two
another name for the Gaziba?
No. When
Okay,
you
I
said you
was
were taking
taking,
something else, I didn't know if there was a third one. So just two things?
yeah,
Didn't say just, that's enough.
that's enough. Well, especially when I gotta take for asthma and, I have a big drawer full of meds. And for a
Did you
while,
ever
I
look?
Susan,
didn't take anything. I went totally off everything for a couple months.
Susan, I noticed you're on oxygen. Is that related to CLL or asthma or?
Well, it's related to me not processing oxygen properly without
Okay.
it. So yeah, I'm on level 2 of oxygen. I'm hooked up to a oxygen maker. So that's been I guess a couple months now.
And is that
I,
It isn't
related?
I
one
use
thing, it's another. is what I'm finding, you know.
I use an oxygen concentrator at night when I'm asleep because my O2 level drops below 90.
Well, I was at 92 when I went for a test just on Monday, and they had me do some walking for 6 minutes and do some other tests, and sent me home with still to stay at level 2. But the doctor also said I could be off it for an hour or two a day. So I was already off it earlier today. So although I could probably go off it now and then go back on it. Well, I go to bed around 10, so I would only have it off for an hour, then put it back on for. I've never tried going without since I started taking having the oxygen. I haven't gone without it at night. I don't know what would happen. I don't know that anything would happen if I didn't have it hooked up at night, but I'm not willing to risk it.
Susan, I don't recall you having oxygen before treatment. Is this from treatment?
It's since treatment.
Is it related to? Is it related to your treatment? Did the treatment bring it on, or is this just something that was coming on? And
I don't know. It may have just been coming on. I mean, I didn't really notice a lot of shortness of breath. The odd time, yes, but from this test that I had, they want me to be on it. So we just do what the doctor says, follow blindly. Well, not exactly, but as I do try and keep up on what's happening.
Well,
hey, Ashley, how are you doing? I just said hi.
I'm doing well. How are you? Well, I heard how you are. I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, well, you're looking better than I remember from the last time I've.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I've tried to get on, but my computer isn't always cooperative. Then there's Ricky screaming from ear to ear. What are
Yeah,
you
no,
doing?
I was sorry, I was just I was reading something, somebody just sent me something, but what I did want to say was this, that we hope that you advocate for yourself, because the one thing we want you to take away from these groups is to make yourself a better advocate so you don't blindly follow. And I know it's much, much more difficult in Canada than it is in the United States. But any way that we can help you, or Michelle can help you with CLL advice, because she's our CLL guru. We really want to do that. So if you need to run something past her and say, they're telling me I should take this, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I did.
We're here to help you with that.
When I first came on, that's when Michelle told me about these. I did go back to my doctor and let her know what was what I learned here.
Yeah.
So from that, I think it seems like so long ago now, and I just don't have a lot of good memory.
Mm-hmm. Now,
I learned.
I was just going to say, hold the thought a second, Michelle, because I learned something from Herb today. He was talking about MDS. So I didn't even know the term MDS. It's not a term that they use in any of the cancers I've worked with before. And I learned that that MDS levels can change from country to country. Herb,
MRD.
Sorry, MRD. Yeah. Please explain.
Well, we were talking about it. It's a test to show when you have reached essentially a minimal disease. And so they look for the percentage of blood cancer cells as a percentage of normal cells. And so depending on the country, it turns out that I read a paper in England and their definition of MRD is 1 in 100,000 or 4 in 100,000. Whereas here, it's greater than that. It has to be much less than that before they declare MRD. So that was an interesting difference. But whatever it is, it tells you that you've reached a good stable state.
So, in other words, and it's interesting to me that they consider you to have reached that level earlier in the UK than they would do here. Now, that may well have something to do with the nationalized health system, which you have in Canada, because then they don't have to treat you. Once you've reached that stage, they don't have to treat you anymore. So the higher that level is, the better it is for the health system, right, Herb? Or am I being cynical?
Well, I think you're being a little cynical. I think that it's just a matter of, it might be a function of the kinds of equipment you have available and how much they want to spend and the methods that they use. So I'm not going to, I wouldn't say that it's all based on whether they want to stop treating you.
Okay, I stand corrected.
So Susan, you were on defined time treatment, defined duration treatment versus indefinite then, because you were not on any. That's my alarm to take my treatment. Oh. I'll snooze it a little while. But anyway, so you don't have to continue on treatment. In other words, you're done. Once you're done with, you said this last pill that you're finishing up, you're done. Oh, you're muted. I think you're saying something good. Hold on, we want to hear it. And I can't unmute you.
Yeah, at the end of August, beginning of September, they'll review. Like I've been going for blood work once a month, but now I don't have to go till the end of August, beginning of September. I was looking for the paper from the doctor that said my leukemia is in remission.
That's fantastic news.
So
I'm very happy to hear that.
So, whoops. I never know
It's
where
always
to.
good to hear that.
Yeah, I know. That sounds for a party.
It hasn't given me any burst of energy. I'm still dragging my butt, but it's still better than the alternative.
It will happen, but it takes months sometimes to get to that point after these treatments.
Yeah, I guess
I know
myself on it.
The day after I ended treatment, I remember I tried doing double workout classes at the gym, and then working out with weights. And I just remember someone was like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, "I'm so tired, I can't finish." And
I wouldn't think that sitting for, I don't know, I guess it was 6 hours, sitting in a pretty comfortable chair for 6 hours, having an infusion. You wouldn't think that would wear you out, but it sure as heck does.
You need
Sometimes
to be kind.
maybe more so than working out.
Or sitting on a Zoom call for 2 hours.
Right.
Right. I think we probably have to close up shop because for you guys back east, it's getting very late.
I'm running out of gas.
Yeah.
Since I'm radioactive.
That's right. You have to explain that, Herb. You have to tell them what you're talking about.
So my latest treatment was yesterday, which is a targeted radioactive therapy. So I get an infusion, and it supposedly targets prostate cancer cells. But in the meantime, I'm hot. So
you may glow in the bathroom tonight when you go in.
I can glow. My urine glows in the dark.
Oh, how long do you have to be on this and be radioactive?
Well, I mean, it's once every 6 weeks. So this is the second out of 6. And but I mean, other than I know that I'm radioactive, it isn't incapacitating, but it's maybe a little tiring.
Do they have any cautions?
Well, I have to sleep in a separate bed from my wife. And I have to, for the least the first few days, I have to stay 3 feet away from people. So I haven't been, I've been sort of isolating.
But that's only for how long? For how many days?
3 days, they say 3 days because
Three-
is sort of when it goes down to a level where it's less dangerous.
And did you bring the Geiger counter home? Do
Well,
we know how?
no, I have the Geiger counter. It's downstairs.
Yeah.
So
Is it going
Herb, do
up?
you
it
That's
goes
certainly
off.
more
Oh,
technical than the little ice needle.
it pins the needle. There's no question.
Herb, do you have any pets?
Yes, I have not. They don't. I'm not sleeping with the pets. They can't go near the pets either, or at
Wow.
least for
Go
a
out,
long period of time.
go
So
out in the backyard and
luckily,
water the
well,
weeds.
right. So
Were you thinking with a hose, or were you thinking he could do it at night and see his way?
Take it either way you want to.
right.
That would certainly cause a hardship for our spaniel because she waits to get up on the bed. If one of us
Right.
doesn't,
Well,
she can't jump
luckily,
up anymore. She's gotten her back end isn't as agile as it was, so she waits and she'll cry if one of us doesn't put her up on the
right.
bed.
Well, luckily, the cat will go in the bed that they normally go to, which is where my wife is sleeping. So he won't miss me too much.
All
Hey, folks,
right,
I know
guys.
All right. We'll see you all in a month.
We'll see you in a
that's
month
great.
and stay in
Michelle, you
touch in
might want to
between.
stop the recording.
Yep.
Michelle,
And
the recording.
Yes, I am trying to get my
uh,
mouse to work. Okay.
and
Thank
don't
you.